After a delicious appetizer with Wahida Rahman, I sat down for a decadent entree with a firebrand actor, activist and intellectual. I'm not easily intimidated, but I have to admit I had to study hard to prepare for this interview because I really wanted to impress her. Is she here yet?
Almost here.
Nah, I'm not that scared. Today we talk about women going to Hollywood and actors going to Hollywood, but you did that all the way back in '88, and I think it was with Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, Madam Suzatska, John Schlesinger's film.
What was that like, and were you the only Indian at that point of time, you know, on a set of just, I guess, white people?
I was certainly the only Indian, and it was a very strange feeling because I think in English, and English comes to me very naturally, but then when I was there on the set and I was hearing all these people speaking English, my English sounded so quaint and so convent-like, which the...
Yeah, but that happens even now. Even when I go and I speak to people, I feel that my accent, in fact, my Indian accent becomes even more pronounced.
Stronger.
Yeah.
But what was very nice is that I fell in love with John Schlesinger and he fell in love with me. In fact, the first few days I even stayed in his house. And you know, when I asked John, I said, in the original book by Bernice Rubens, she's a Jewish mother. So I said, why did you make her into an Indian mother? And he said, well, Indians are so much a part of the British fabric that they need to be visible, and it helped that Ruth Jhabwala was writing the screenplay. And Asian actors have been talking about colorblind casting since then. Why should all the best roles go to Caucasian actors? Now, very slowly, it's come to them understanding that multiculturalism is really important. We need to be inclusive. They've also understood that, you know,
you're driving people away, a certain section away, if you don't have representation.
No, but you're now welcoming Indian cinema is, I mean, there's nothing quite in comparison with the kind of fan following that Indian cinema has, and so they've also realized that, all right, you will get this audience in too.
Your first film, Ankur, you won a national award.
He approached Wahida ji, he approached Lakshmi of the South, he also approached Anju Mahindru, and they all turned it down, and he was besides himself. I didn't know who Shyam Benegal was. I asked around and they said, no, he's wonderful, etc. And I went to meet Shyam
How old were you then?
Benegal, 21.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was. Firstly, it's very strange that I wore a sari and I wore a bindi and I went. Because in those days, the thing that I used to do, which is whenever I had to meet somebody, I used to wear a t-shirt and culottes and try to look very modern. But this time I don't know what happened and I went. And he just looked at me and the only question he asked me was, how good are you at dialects? And I said, which one? And he said, Dakkani. And I said, well, I can speak it. And I started speaking to him. Now he narrated both Ankur and Nishant to me.
Okay.
And said, you're in both the movies. I mean, I came home and told my mother there's some fraud filmmaker who's offering me 2 films I really don't know, and with Shyam, and 18 days later I was there. It was completely different, and I remember writing to my mother and saying that I feel that this has some Satyajit Ray film vibes, and she said, look at your eyebrows, they're atrocious, they don't look part of a Satyajit Ray film. And now also when I see Ankur, I'm always cringing because my eyebrows are plucked and awful, terrible.
After that, I think you did a film which I would say is sort of very defining in Hindi films, which is Arth, where for the first time they had, you know, the woman, the other woman, and a marriage about this, and a movie about a triangle. Did you think when you were doing it that this is something that is going to stand the test of time? This is something that is changing the narrative of Indian cinema?
What happened is when the film was ready, then distributors saw it and said that it's a wonderful film, but the end is unacceptable. An Indian woman not accepting her husband when he says, sorry, this film is not going to run a day. But Mahesh and I sort of dug our feet in and we said, this is the reason we are making the film, and ye to hum change nahi karenge. Commercially very successful, it was also very successful critically. I got the national award, etc.
How many national awards have you won?
5.
Wow.
Now, उसमें जो है, a very strange thing happened that after the film was released, I suddenly found hordes of women walk into my house, not as fans to star, but in sisterhood, expecting me to resolve all their marital conflicts. And I was terrified because I'd just done a part. And
Yeah. But now you were meant to be a counselor
I was,
And-
yes.
and a leader of women wanting to leave unhappy marriages.
Yeah. I was quite frightened by it, frankly, because I was just an actor who'd done a part. But it also brought into focus for me the fact that, the audiences often mistake the actor for the character, and that this is a huge opportunity. And if you can use it constructively, then you're doing more than just giving a good performance. Coming that like I do from parents who've always believed art should be used as an instrument for social change, it was natural that something like that would happen, and that's how my work with women started.
You won 5 national awards, but according to you, which has been your best performance?
You're not going to believe me, but I don't think there's a best performance. I hope that the best is yet to come, but I'm very critical when I see my work, and quite neurotic. If you and I are watching a film of mine and I see there's that shot that I don't like, I'll immediately give you popcorn or something so that you're distracted from the screen. I also used to do these completely mad things when if I did a shot that I wasn't satisfied with, and for some reasons we couldn't have a retake, I would in the night plan and think that I will go into the lab, remove this shot, burn it, do something or the other.
These were your fantasies.
These were my fantasies. कि किसी तरह से वो shot को मैं निकाल दूँ, and I'd really suffer. So when I'm watching a film, I'm watching the flaws.
You have always been opinionated. Has that gotten you into trouble? And if it gets you into trouble, do you bother about it?
Of course I bother about it.
You do?
And I have said that, I don't court controversy. I don't think controversy is a good thing. What it does is, particularly when you're involved in a film or a play, that controversy sort of looms large, and people make an opinion about what they're going to watch even before they see it. But if it comes at a point when I feel strongly that this is something that I want to throw my weight behind, I've always been encouraged by my parents to speak my mind. बोल के लब आज़ाद हैं तेरे, बोल ज़बां अब तक तेरी है, बोल ये सुतवा जिस्म है तेरा, बोल के जां अब तक तेरी है. Is Faiz Ahmed Faiz's Nazm, and it's my favorite.
You grew up in a household where your parents were activists and they belonged to the Communist Party.
That's right.
So is that what has shaped this political side that you have?
Till the age of 9, I lived in a commune where we had a room which was only 180 square feet, and there were 8 families living together in these rooms, and we had 1 toilet and 1 bathroom. And there was never any money, because all the money that my father was earning was going to the Communist Party, and he used to get only 40 rupees a month. And so my mother had to go out and start working. She became a radio announcer, then she became an actress and worked with Prithvi Theatre and IPTA, etc., etc. But in the atmosphere around us, the lack of money was never a problem. What we were celebrating was India's pluralism, her composite culture. I remember some of my happiest times spent celebrating Holi, Eid, Diwali, Christmas, Ganpati. It was just absolutely wonderful. And in fact, what used to happen is that on 26th January and on 15th August, we used to be put in a truck and taken to Chowpatty to watch all the lights, etc. So for us, it became like a festival, So gender justice was a given, whether it was Sultana Jafri or whether it was my mother. Everybody was treated equally, and in fact I took it for granted. And I think I must have been 19 when I realized for the first time that gender equality is an exception rather than the rule, and it took me completely by
Same thing
surprise.
It was exactly the same, because I grew up in a household full of women. Your parents, when you were young, did they take you, I mean, did they sort of inculcate this feeling within you that you should also be politically driven and that it is almost part of your responsibility along with being an artist?
By example, not because they sat me down and they ever said this is how you should be, but just by example. And I think there was a time when my father must have been very disappointed because I had said that I don't want to have anything to do with politics. I just want to make my movies, and I wouldn't even read the newspapers, and I was quite proud of it.
Why did you do that?
There was politics all around. It was being discussed all the time. And you know how children are. They don't appreciate anything unless they see it in hindsight. Now, it was to my father's credit that he never expressed his disappointment. I think he was convinced that the earth was so fertile that the plant is bound to take root.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And I remember when I first went on a hunger strike, he was in Patna, and my mother was really worried. On the 5th day, she sent him a telegram saying that, you know, your daughter's sitting in hunger strike for slum dwellers, and the government is saying they don't have any land and she's going to fall really ill and all that. And he sent me a telegram saying, best of luck, comrade. That was the kind of person
my God,
he was. He was quite wonderful, yeah, wonderful.
You also did a 3-day walk.
Yeah, for Communal Harmony. I had been told that it's very unusual for an actress to be walking the streets for 3 days from Delhi to Meerut, and that people would tear my clothes and that it would become very bad. And I remember I was very nervous. I was very scared, and my brother Baba was very tense, and he thought I was putting my parents in a very awkward situation. And I went with my heart thudding to my father, and I just embraced him, and he felt that I was tense, and he pulled me in front and then said, "Arey, meri bahadur beti dar rahi hai, jao, tumko kuch nahi hoga." And it was really like a burst of oxygen had been pumped into me, and I went with confidence and I said, this is something we should do. At the end of those 3 days, we had 50,000 people in an open Maidan in Meerut who said, because this had happened after Malyana, and they said, we will never let a communal riot take place in this area. It was a very moving experience.
They say that girls always marry their fathers in a way, and Javed Sahab seems to have a lot in common with your father. He's a poet, you have similar backgrounds.
Yeah, in fact, people keep saying that we should have had an arranged marriage.
Yeah, it seems like
itne zyada similarities hain usme. It was a tough act to follow because my father is the biggest feminist that I know, and although I was attracted to Javed because of his wit and his intelligence, his humor, and basically his worldview, because see, Janissar Akhtar and Safia Akhtar were, I mean, like siblings of my parents. Okay. They were intellectuals, they were writers, he was from the Communist Party, he was a lyricist, I mean, everything was in common.
So it's like you married your cousin, basically.
Absolutely, yeah, basically. And it was very helpful that he turned out to be a real and true feminist. So I think we are united in many ways, but mainly because we're good friends and because we have a common worldview.
But was it difficult at that time because of the situation? I mean, your parents were against that, as you've said.
I mean, he was a married man, he had children. It was really tough, and that's why I feel that people shouldn't speculate. It's difficult enough for the people involved, and then just for gossip's sake, obviously, people were going to say, you call yourself a feminist, and then how have you got yourself in this situation? Now, at that time, I had a choice. I could explain my point of view, would justify the action that I've taken. But I felt if I did that, it would lead to more speculation, it would lead to more gossip, and so I decided to go quiet, and I said, I'm not going to give any explanations, and in time people will come to know, which is exactly what had happened. Now, of this, the real good thing that has happened, and I give Honey a lot of credit for it, because through it all, she never poisoned the children's mind against me. She never took it.
Honey Auntie is lovely.
I mean, she was really generous and amazing. See, I could be generous, but it was she.
Yeah,
who
she would guide.
She would have been justified.
Yeah.
She never did that. In fact, she sent the children with us to London when they were really young, and that sort of became bonding. And it's to her credit, to Javed's credit, and to my credit, that we have such a healthy relationship with Zoya and Farhan.
You came into a family where they were already a unit. So how did you, and they love you, as you know, you're the stepmother, but they love you, unlike all the stories you hear of the evil stepmother. I scare my children that if they're really mean to me, they'll have a stepmother who'll run over them with a car, but which is not going to help, because if they really do get a stepmother, they're not going to be nice to her. How did you make sure that your relationship with this family and with these children is always, you know, stays in harmony? What are did you have anything in mind, you know, things that people can learn from, that when you enter a situation like this, these are the principles you must follow?
I didn't push, and I didn't try desperately to be liked by them. I gave them a lot of time. Of course, the fact that Honey was really generous about it, that helped. And the fact is that till they found a comfort level with me, I was there, but I was never pushing. And then slowly, because they were also sort of, Zoya was particularly, I think she was about 12 at that time, so she was sort of developing ideas, and I remember her being curious, and I remember that I had gone on a march for communal harmony and she said, so why are you doing that? As if by marching on the streets, you're going to establish communal harmony. And then I explained to her and I said, no, but it's a symbolic step, etc. So she became curious about what I was doing. And now there's never a demonstration in which I need Zoya and she won't be there. So, you know, so it's wonderful that you see that you've also made a contribution in their lives. And there have been times when, particularly Zoya, when she's had a fight with her father, I'm the one who plays the peacemaker, you know. The fact that I have great respect for both the children, I find that they're intelligent, they're socially conscious, they are involved with issues, makes me very proud of them. And also the fact that I think it's very unusual in a family to have a son and a daughter who in their ways have actually made path-breaking movies, whether it was Dil Chahta Hai or whether it was Gully Boy, which is exactly like their father when he came 40 years ago. So it's quite amazing.
I think it's carrying on from one generation to another.
It's amazing,
It is really wonderful. Yeah, I forgot about it, how much I've beaten Farhan when we were kids. What's next for you? Now you've got, I don't know how many national awards, you won the Padma Bhushan.
I just told you 5, remember?
And coffee's helping me remember. You've got the Padma Bhushan, what next?
More of the same thing. More of the same thing, because I think people keep saying and pushing you and saying, but what's your next goal? What's your next goal? How can I have a next goal? Have I achieved everything that I want to achieve? When I'm working with women, when I'm working with slum dwellers, have they reached where we want them to reach? So my father once said something quite wonderful to me, Tina. You know, he founded the Mijwa Welfare Society, which is an NGO that works for the empowerment of the girl child and women in rural India. Now, I asked him once, don't you feel frustrated when change doesn't happen at the pace you want it to? And he said something quite wonderful. He said, you know, when you're working for change, you need to build into that expectation the possibility that change might not occur within your lifetime. But you must have the confidence that if you carry on working with sincerity and dedication, then change will come, even if it does so after you're gone. So there will be no room for frustration. And what we are working with is changing mindsets, particularly patriarchal mindsets, in which both men and women are victims of patriarchy. So if you are working towards changing that, it is going to take time. And so that's why I feel I need to do more of the same thing. I need to do more good films, I need to do more plays, I need to work with women, I need to work with slum dwellers, I need to work with public health. I don't want much, I just want more.
What would you like to be remembered for now, since you have all these things that you've achieved and done and want to do more? What is the one thing when you're gone?
She played the game. I think this is my motto from school, and I think what that gave me is I don't have the fear of failure, and I think that's very important, because then that can propel you into going into all kinds of fields which are not safe. You can fail, what's the big deal about failing, but surely you have to try. I think that each one of us can be a catalyst for change if we can be motivated to do so, and I think she tried is what I would like to be remembered as.
She tried. She played the game is better, and one is better than she tried.
No, one I don't know. One I don't know. You know, something very strange. People think about me that I have the killer instinct, that I'm a go-getter, that I go and get what I want.
I believe that about you.
It's not true at all. You ask Javed, you ask my friends, and they'll tell you that's not true. Because this play the game comes in the way. You know why? Because I was always taught in school, it doesn't matter whether you win or you lose, play the game. And that's what I do. And I see very often, and Javed keeps pointing out to me, that you will go right up to the end, and just before it becomes that final goal, you will suddenly give up, which is the exact opposite of him. He will not enter to play a game at all. But if he enters, he has to win.
It's the same thing with Akshay and me. I'll go, and right at the end I'll be like, Akshay.
You think it's a woman thing?
I don't
terrible.
know.
I really think that it's my school that's responsible for it. But at the last minute, I see and I curse myself and I say, oh God, this push, I needed to give it. But I say that I play the game.
At the very end, I want to tell you that my favorite poem by Kaifi Saab is Aakhri Raat. So can you please, do you remember?
Aakhri Raat, I don't remember. How lovely that you should remember that.
Not?
I don't remember Aakhri Raat, but I can tell you a bit from Aurat.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll accept that.
Okay. Now you have to remember that it was written 70 years ago, at a time when it was believed that women should stay at home and look after the children and the kitchen, and the man should go out and struggle. 70 years ago, this very good looking man, he was really very, very attractive. He wrote Aurat, in which he exhorts the woman to walk shoulder to shoulder with him. And he says, "Qadr ab tak teri taarikh ne jaani hi nahi, तुझ में शोले भी हैं बस अशफिशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है एक चीज़ जवानी ही नहीं, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे." 70 years ago.
Wow. And you are defining those very words. Thank you for being here, and it's been wonderful talking to you.
इतना छोटा सा बच्चा था, पट पट करके मेरे से बात कर रहा है.
अभी क्या करूँ?
बाप रे.